Well, guys, I've got some bad news. Um, Went on vacation a couple weeks ago, was gone for a week. Before I left, I checked the hives out here, and everything looked fine. If you remember what I said in the last video, I have one hive box that is mine, and one of them belongs to the guy who has been mentoring me. And but I checked both boxes, everything seemed fine. Uh, Mine actually was doing pretty well. Um, and I came back, we got back the week, after we went on vacation. And I was just out looking around, and I looked at my hive, and I noticed that there was not very much activity. Usually there's bees going in and out, in and out, in and out all the time, and there are usually bees that hang out right around the entrance because that's what they do. They guard the entrance to the hive. Um, and so I saw like one or two bees going in and out, and that's it. Um, and so I just was like, that doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem normal. So I opened up the lid and looked inside, and there was silk all in the hive. And so what happened is these right here. These are, well, I at first I thought it was something that's called a hive beetle, because they're these little black beetles that will get in your hive and can kind of take over. But usually bees can mitigate that if it's a healthy hive. If you can see there's some like those little worm caterpillar things. These are actually wax moth caterpillars, and I don't know exactly what happened because it happened while we were gone, but literally in the week that we were gone, my hive left. It had to have left because there were probably 20-25 bees left, but all the rest of them were gone. And they must have just left. They didn't swarm, because usually if they swarm, they will lay eggs that will eventually become a new queen, and then the current queen will take, a portion of the hive, and they'll swarm and go find a place that is bigger. So I didn't see any evidence of that when before we left. There were no queen. They're called cells. The little inside the honeycomb, there are little cells. That's where their larvae and stuff like that are. There's a particular, you can tell when it's going to be a queen, and they call them queen cells. I didn't see any queen cells in there, not a single one, before we left. And so I think what happened was somehow the wax moths got in there. They laid a bunch of eggs. They started to hatch and multiply, and it got out of hand quickly. And I think what happened is sometimes bees, if a pest gets in their hive and is in there for too long and starts to grow and get out of hand, they'll just leave. They'll leave the hive and go somewhere else. And I think that the bees that were, still there, the ones that when I was out here looking, and there were some that came back, I think they were probably out foraging, and then when the hive left, they were out. And so when they came back, there was nothing here. But they don't know where else to go. They're going to come right back to their home, their hive. So, yeah, this I've cleaned it out, but it is all gone. You can see it's all nasty now, but that is the silk right there. And I had to scrape off. I still didn't get it all off of all of these frames. I have another box of frames here that I can put in there, but yeah, these are The ones that are the most difficult are these ones right here that have the black, it's a black plastic that they coat with beeswax, and the bees will build comb on that. I want to stop doing that though and go to, this is what my teacher uses. He takes that off and then he puts these wires in there, and all that does is give them a little bit of like an anchor. They don't necessarily need it, but it does help keep the comb sturdier. But yeah, sad news. I was pretty upset about it. His hive over here is still doing well, and I've checked it, but you can see how they're coming in and out, and they're just, you know, consistently coming in and out, in and out, in and out. But there are always going to be bees that hang out by the entrance there to guard it, and that's what I did not see. It was completely just bare. There was nothing there, and so I knew something had to be up, because that was not normal at all. I mean, there was usually so much activity. So I'm gonna have to start again with this one. I'm either gonna have to buy what's called a nuke, and it's not. When I first started looking into beekeeping, when I heard him saying nukes, I'm like, what in the world do you mean a nuke? But it's NUC. I don't know if it's an acronym. I don't know what it is. But basically, if you buy a nuke from someone, some people call them nooks, but if you buy a nuke from someone, it's basically a swarm or a hive that they had removed from somewhere, and it's usually smaller. And so you can catch, that's what mine started out as, and then you can put it in a bigger box and they will grow out from there. I either have to buy one of those. It's kind of too late for swarms. That doesn't mean that there aren't any swarms still out there. So I may take my box here and possibly like tie it up into a tree, because you want it to be up in a tree, and that way, I don't know, I'm just looking around to see if there are any good sturdy enough trees that I don't want to put it up so high that I can't reach it, but I don't want it, it's got to be high enough, because that's what bees are normally looking for, are hollowed out trees. So I may try to put that up in a tree and see if I can attract a swarm in, but it's kind of too late for that. Usually that's like, you know, kind of spring-ish, beginning of summer. Usually around, you know, spring, summer, beginning of summer is when they're going to be swarming, and that's, like I said, it's literally just their whatever box or container or tree or whatever they're in has gotten too small, and so now they have to go find another place to live, but they will lay eggs that will become queens, so that the hive that was there will continue on, and basically they split their hive. So, but I don't know. This is the sad state that I'm in here. No more bees in here, and I am kind of glad that I didn't come back to just a bunch of dead bees. Like nothing got in here and ate or killed the bees. They just were getting overtaken by these moths. At least that's what I think, and they flew the coop. So, yep. That's where we are there. So I'm gonna put these new frames in, and let me open this and I'll show you what we're looking at here. Pardon the bad camera angle, but I'm trying to do this one-handed. It's probably not smart to use a knife one-handed, but that's what I'm doing. Kids, if you're any kids watching this, don't do this. Oh, I have to put these together. That's great. Well, I'll do it some other time, I guess. Man Lake. That's where I got these. You can go to a store, you can order online, they'll ship to you. I don't think there are any, nope, there's no plastic in these, plastic comb. So what I was going to try to do, they're so nasty, I was going to try to just use new plastic, but I don't know. I'm either going to have to tie, like put these wires on like this, or I'll have to buy new inserts. There's a little hive beetle right there, that little black beetle, that's a hive beetle. And they will damage and wreck your hive too, but I don't think as quickly as the moths do. But see, it's just this black plastic and it's coated in beeswax. So that encourages them to build on it. If there isn't any wax on the plastic, they won't build on it. And even then, sometimes bees just don't like to build on that. But what they'll do is they'll start at the top. You can see still up there, you can see where the comb was. They'll start by laying comb down up here, and then they'll build down. And it's funny because they will literally, like, you'll see like this long string of bees that are all interlocked, like they're holding on to each other's legs, and that's trying to kind of pull that comb down. My teacher told me there's a name for that, a term for when they do that, and I don't remember what it is. But yep, I'm just gonna have to start over. This happens, I know it happens, but it's still, it's my first hive, and I just can't believe that I didn't notice anything. And literally in the span of a week, it was just gone. And the wax, the caterpillars go in there and eat the beeswax, and then they build their cocoons in it and all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty much trashed by the time I got back. If you can catch it early enough, you can at least save a bunch of the wax, or you can possibly mitigate it and clear out some of the wax that is infested. But if it's not all infested, just get the wax out that is infested. But by the time I got to it, it was just pretty much all trashed. So you could sit there and watch them just chew through it. So anyways, that's my sad report here. I'm gonna start, if I can't get anything now, I will, unless you have a really healthy hive, if you were to get a nuke or anything like that close to wintertime, it's really hard for them to, it can be hard for them to make it through the winter, because they don't have the resources. Like during summer and during winter, they don't really have nectar resources and pollen resources. Spring and fall are when they're gonna really ramp up. Like around here, apparently bees love the golden rain trees, and I have those everywhere on my property. So those begin to bloom in the fall. In fact, probably by next month they'll be blooming. But yeah, if I can get something before then, if I can get something before the rain trees bloom, or right when they start to bloom, it might be worth doing, because they'll have enough time to collect all that nectar and bring it in here. And I can also supplement with some honey, and people say you can supplement with sugar water. Sugar water is not really good for the bees because there's nothing in it. When they're collecting nectar, yeah, nectar is high in sugar and high in water, but nectar also has, vitamins and minerals and stuff like that they need. They need to be collecting pollen, because the pollen is what they feed to the larva. It's just pure protein, basically. And they take the nectar, and that's what they use to create the honey. So I don't give bees sugar water. Like, I know that that's frowned upon. A lot of beekeepers would tell me you have to. You don't have to. You can actually, if you get raw unfiltered honey, especially if it's local, but at least raw unfiltered. You don't want to give them the honey that's been pasteurized or cut with anything. Give them raw unfiltered honey. They will eat that, or they'll store it for, you know, when over the winter and stuff, when they don't have a lot of things to eat, they can eat that. And that will still have bits of pollen in it, so they'll get a little bit of protein. But yeah, that's the way it is. So we'll see if I can get another hive in here before, or at least by the time the fall, they call it the flow, the nectar flow. By the time that starts, we'll see if I can get one. If not, I may just wait until, you know, the beginning of next year, get a hive in here right before the spring flow starts, and then they can start really ramping up. So sad news, sad video today, but it is what it is. And I've been told this, you know, this happens even to the most seasoned beekeepers. This happens. So we'll start over and go from there. And you know, every time you have a failure like this, you learn something. You learn what it is, maybe some things you can do in the future, and it just, you learn and you get smarter each time. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.